Welcome to SVG-TV News for Friday, October 17, 2025. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. The SVG Met Services is advising the public to prepare for increasing cloudiness, showers and thunderstorms this weekend as a tropical disturbance is forecast to cross the islands. Residents and motorists, particularly those in areas prone to flooding, landslides or near rivers and streams, are being urged to exercise caution. The Met Services noted that dry and stable conditions had prevailed across St. Vincent and the Grenadines since midweek. However, conditions are expected to deteriorate as the system approaches. Moderate southeasterly winds currently affecting the islands may increase in strength over the weekend, with wind directions varying between northeasterly and southeasterly in some areas due to the approaching disturbance. Sea conditions are described as slight to moderate in open waters, with swell heights currently near 3 feet on the western side of the islands and up to 5 feet on the eastern side. However, a gradual increase in swell heights is expected, with peak swells ranging from 5 to 9 feet across the country by Sunday night. Small craft operators and seabathers are strongly advised to exercise caution, especially due to rising swells and occasional gusty winds. The Met Services says it will continue to monitor the system and will issue advisories or updates as necessary. Cabinet has approved back payments for just over 600 people who reportedly received bank cards but never accessed any funds through them. This was disclosed by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves during his remarks at the launch of his new books last evening, where he also addressed the government's handling of post-Lasofre volcanic eruption recovery projects. According to the Prime Minister, the estimated cost of the back payments is approximately $3.3 million.
Meet a number of people who complain. From their records they have checked, and they have come up with 600 and something?
Yes.
They have come up with 600 and something persons who somehow received Beryl cards and did not get any money on their cards.
Yes.
There may be others too who didn't get any cards, but I can only deal with one problem at a time in this kind of a context. And she came to me, she just took it to cabinet last week, Wednesday, and we approved for those 600 and something persons to receive for the last 8 months.
Yes.
Their $600. It is coming up to $3.3 million. We're hoping to pay that shortly.
Yes.
We just took that decision.
Prime Minister Gonsalves stressed that the move to approve these payments is not part of a political campaign strategy, but rather a necessary correction.
Election campaign. This is no gimmick. This is a rigorous process which we went through. And she brought the list finally. In fact, the wise electoral thing to have done would be to say, girl, there may be another 600 out there who didn't get cards and who should have get money. And then going to keep a lot of noise that they don't get. I say, but we have to do right with whom we can do right.
Yes.
Whatever the consequence.
Regarding ongoing home reconstruction efforts, Prime Minister Gonsalves said the number of homes identified for rebuilding or repair has risen from 5,000 to 8,000. This increase, he said, reflects ongoing assessments in affected communities and the scale of long-term recovery needed. The Prime Minister also rejected allegations that his party has practiced political discrimination in the delivery of relief or development support. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Gonsalves officially launched 2 books last evening, Regional Integration in Our Caribbean and Labor is Working for All. The launch followed a soft debut held on the sidelines of the 80th United Nations General Assembly late last month. During the launch event, the Prime Minister was joined by historian Dr. Cleve Scott, who led a discussion on the books. Dr. Scott described regional integration in our Caribbean as a compelling reflection of the Caribbean's historical journey, saying the book captures a historical past that resonates with today's living.
But right, my parents grading,
I would give it an A+. It's an excellent chapter. It's excellent because it is history. It is what we call historical biography, but the way it was written is to review developments in the region from the inside, from the soul of someone who was not just on the sideline but was integrally involved.
The launch took place in Kingstown before an audience that included government officials, academics, and members of the public. The books aim to foster national reflection on governance, policy, and identity in the Vincentian and the wider Caribbean context. Regional integration in our Caribbean contains 5 chapters, 2 essays, and 3 speeches by the Prime Minister, who noted that the central theme of the book is the importance of leadership, not only at the political level, but also in broader societal roles.
But men and women make history, but only to the extent that the circumstances of history permit them so to make. They do not make history in circumstances chosen by themselves, but in circumstances inherited from the past and what have arisen extant. No. And among the circumstances are ideas in the heads of men and women which sometimes weigh like a nightmare on their brains. So the context, the circumstances, always very important. There are persons elected to top leadership positions who think are here or there and manage this or that little thing, but not much changes. They just go along. Management is different from leadership. Political management is a different thing than political leadership. Political leadership involves political management. But you have some people who will just manage it. And they could manage it in a very transactional manner, but don't lead in a transformative way to effect changes for the better.
The second book, Labour is Working for All, focuses on the governance policies of the Unity Labour Party and how these policies have, according to Dr. Gonzalez, positively impacted the lives of Vincentians over the past 2 decades. It documents the party's achievements, challenges, and vision for continued development. All attendees at the launch receive complimentary copies of both books, which are expected to be made available to the wider public. And Minister of Finance, Camila Gonzalez, has strongly condemned the practice of selling passports, calling it morally wrong and a betrayal of national identity. He made a statement earlier today while addressing a youth symposium hosted by the Prime Minister Council on Youth and Diplomacy. Gonzalez told the audience that a country's sovereignty and citizenship should carry deep meaning and not be treated as commodities for financial gain.
Your nationhood, the fact that you are a country, the fact that there are rules to who belongs to a country has to mean something. And what is a country? A country is a defined space. You have to have an area that you call your own, and you have to have a population that is bound together by something. Common history, common culture. All of you live there, all of you born there, you're there for love. You're there because you married somebody. You're there because 2 other people had you there. And there is something culturally and historically that binds you together as a people. You have to have both things. And if you only have, if you don't have that, if somebody in China can write a check and become a Vincentian, and somebody in Syria can write a check and become a Vincentian. Somebody in Iran can write a check, become a Vincentian. Somebody in wherever, Burkina Faso, can write a check and become a Vincentian. What makes you a country? What makes you a people? And should you be selling yourself for that quick buck? And should you be selling out yourself for that quick buck?
Gonzalez cautioned against following the example of nations engaged in these programs, noting that only 5 of the 14 CARICOM member states currently offer passports for sale.
Very, very few countries in the world see that it is a good thing or a right thing or a morally permissible thing to sell passports. because we are surrounded by a bunch of countries that do it, you get the sense that everybody's doing it but St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But that is completely false. There are 14 countries in CARICOM, and only 5 of them sell passports. There are 193 countries in the world, and only 8 of them sell passports. Because every other country in the world has recognized that you cannot call yourself a country if you are selling off membership to your country. And so that's on the first moral level.
Further stressing his point, the finance minister said that selling nationality signals failure, suggesting such measures reflect a country's inability to sustain its economy through good governance and long-term planning.
Selling passports by a government, by a people, is an admission of failure. It is an admission that you as a country, you as a people, don't know how to get by without selling yourself. So you're saying to yourself, you're saying essentially, there are ways to advance in the world. There are ways to develop. Develop your educational capacity, develop your infrastructure, come up with innovative ideas or businesses or industries or whatever to develop your country. And here we can't manage. We don't know how to do it. We don't think this thing is going to work. And so the only way we can think of to get money is to sell ourselves. And it is developmentally an admission of defeat. That we have to remember that. And you're essentially saying that your country can't get by following the world, the rules that the majority of the world is following. That 185 out of the 193 countries in the world are following. You're saying, we can't manage. We see Singapore advancing, but we can't be like Singapore. And we see Nigeria advancing, but we can't be like Nigeria. And we see the Seychelles advancing, or Mauritius advancing, or whoever, and we can't do it. So all we have to do is just have a transactional thing where you walk in, you buy a passport, you leave some money behind. So it is an admission of defeat. And we don't believe that where we are, we're in a position to make that moral compromise, to admit that we cannot advance St. Vincent and the Grenadines by any way other than selling out.
Gonzalez's remarks come amid renewed regional debate on economic strategies and national sovereignty, where he urged Caribbean nations and especially the youth to value independence, self-reliance, and moral strength above short-term financial gain. The opposition New Democratic Party candidate for South Central Windward, Israel Bruce, has reaffirmed the party's commitment to delivering what he described as a dignity and development to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Speaking at a village meeting last night in the constituency, Bruce told residents and supporters that the NDP's vision is to bring about real change through practical solutions aimed at improving lives and rebuilding hope across communities. He said the country is facing increasingly difficult times, expressing empathy for citizens who are struggling to meet ends meet, particularly farmers who he said have been among the hardest hit.
These are not easy times. Prices are high. Jobs are scarce. Too many of our young people are frustrated. Too many of our farmers have turned away from the lands because the returns are too small and the struggle is too large. When you walk through our villages, from Hadley's village, Happy Village to Lomans, from Greg's to Mangrenan, you feel the potential, but you also feel the pain and neglect. My people, we cannot keep doing the same things all the time and expect different results.
Bruce emphasized that South Central Windward deserves its fair share of national development, noting that the constituency has enormous untapped potential. All that is needed is the right partnership between the people and the government that cares, he said, urging voters to see the NDP as that partner for progress.
You deserve better than tricks. You deserve opportunity. You deserve dignity. You deserve development. And this is what the New Democratic Party is offering you. This is what I stand for when I offer you my 25 at 25 plan. Real change, not election handouts. So, under that program, we will develop agriculture, South Central Windward, farmers, markets are being explored for you, and we will continue to do so to make sure you get markets for your produce. Farmers, I hear your cries, and so those who are stealing your crops and animals, the pressure will be brought to bear on them. Perennial larceny will come to an end.
Looking ahead, Bruce gave residents a preview of what they could expect under an NDP administration. He outlined a 5-year development plan focused on empowering communities, revitalizing agriculture, creating job opportunities, and ensuring that development reaches every corner of the country, not just urban centers.
1. Reduce unemployment in South Central Windward. 2. Build a new playing field for the young men and women of Greggs. 3. Secure lands for Hadley's village for housing and agricultural expansion. 4. Launch ecotourism in Diamonds and Greggs. 5. Support a development bank for job creation in South Central Windward. 6. Support housing development, particularly for Mount Grennan and all of South Central. 7. Open skill training centers across the constituency. 8. Host the annual Best Village competition. And 9 for tonight, honor outstanding residents every year.
Bruce, an attorney and longtime advocate for rural development, has been representing the NDP in South Central Windward since the last general election. He made a direct appeal to voters to consider the NDP's record and vision, saying the time has come to turn frustration into action. The South Central Windward seat is currently held by Minister of Agriculture Subota Caesar of the Rural Unity Labour Party. Government Senator Shaquille Bob, who leads the Prime Minister's Advisory Council on Youth, has reported that 300 young people are now active members of the council and are making a meaningful difference in communities across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Providing an overview of the council's work over the past year, Bob highlighted the success of several initiatives, including a crime prevention program carried out in various communities. She explained that through these community engagements, the council gained a deeper understanding of the root causes of youth involvement in crime.
My role as senator and a member of cabinet is really to, be a bridge between the youth voice and the cabinet of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So whenever there are issues, recommendations that need to be made, I would be the one to present them to cabinet. So what we did at the Touch Road initiative, we spoke to persons to find out what was affecting them, what could be done better to help to advance youth, and we got a lot of insight. It was a raw experience. We just went out and we just spoke to persons on a level playing field and made them feel comfortable. So last year we did a youth consultation, but I think it was a little bit prim and proper because persons don't really want to come and sit down in a room and talk to you about what issues are affecting them. But when you meet them in their habitat, then they're more open to you.
The Prime Minister The Prime Minister's Advisory Council on Youth was established to serve as a bridge between young people and the government, offering policy input and grassroots engagement on youth-related issues, in addition to on-the-ground meetings. Bob noted that the new initiative launched this year, the Ignite project, was especially well received. The project gave young people an opportunity to showcase their talents and, importantly, ensure that their contributions were acknowledged and rewarded.
We decided that we're going to give scholarships to them, but the age group was from 4 to 35. So we decided that if you're in secondary school or primary school, we would give you a 5-year scholarship. So for those going over from primary school to secondary school, they would get a full 5-year scholarship. Those in college would have been entitled to a bursary of $25,000 per year so that they could go to university if they wanted to really build their craft. And the person who won this year, she really opted for an additional cash prize, because there was an additional cash prize for if that person didn't want to pursue further education. So the additional cash prize was $15,000. So first place winner actually won $20,000. And that was an excellent initiative, and I'd like to
The Prime Minister's Advisory Council on Youth currently has 11 core members and 18 sectoral groups, each led by a chairperson and supported by its own team of youth members. These groups focus on specific areas such as education, sports, environment, innovation, and civic engagement. This year marked the second edition of the Youth Summit, hosted by the Prime Ministerial Advisory Youth Council. As Invest SVG prepares to host the 2025 Everything Vincy Expo, CEO Glenn Beach says preparations are on track, with final touches being made to ensure a successful event. The highly anticipated expo is set to take place at a new purpose-built site that Beach described as a long-term permanent home for the national event. On radio today, Beach said this location gives them the opportunity to keep investing and raising the standards of the expo year after year, noting that they are already looking ahead to future improvements aimed at enhancing the visitor experience and overall functionality of the venue.
2025 Vincy Expo Plus, it's from next Thursday the 23rd
to the 27th, 5 days.
Let's talk first about registration and see how that's going.
Registration is all 15 by 15s are sold out, all 20 by 20s are sold out. Tables are still available at $600. The 10 by 8s are still available. I think they're at $1,200. As such, this is 5 days.
Right.
To promote your business, promote your service, promote your product. I don't know if you've been to the Diamond Estate yet to see what's
the
taking.
Transformation. No, not yet.
Right.
But I know where it is.
You know where it is.
Yeah.
But even if you go to our social media pages, we've been posting updates and so on. There's one building that we're putting up that's 16,000 square feet that will be there permanently. It's where the 10 by 8s will be. Then we have 4 other tents outside of that will have different features and so on, and the food court. This is going to be the permanent home of Everything Vincy Plus. We're very excited about it. I think people will love what they see. It has taken a lot of work. As a matter of fact, as soon as I leave here, I head out there for a meeting. We're not going to finish it the way I would like to finish, but it will be finished in time. Right. After that, next year we'll do some more touches, grass. It's probably some water marks and so on. Water features, that sort of thing. Build the permanent toilets and so on, because that will be the permanent home. We're going to be operating it as a business where you can rent the permanent building, and for all of you, the permanent building can withstand up to a Category 4 hurricane.
The Everything Vincy Expo continues to showcase a wide cross-section of essential businesses, artisans, cultural performance, and food vendors. The expo was initially launched in 2017 as part of the Everything Vincy campaign to boost national pride, stimulate local enterprise, and attract regional and international investment. Since then, it has grown into a marquee event on the national calendar, drawing thousands of attendees annually. With final preparations underway, Beat said teams are focused on addressing last-minute infrastructure concerns, notably water, drainage, and parking, and he urged the public and stakeholders to cooperate to ensure the event runs smoothly.
If you remember in 2023 when we had it on the tarmac, there was a lot of rain.
Yeah.
And it coming through. So one of the things we're doing out there right now is the drainage making sure, but you have the buildings and the tents that you can shelter under quite easily.
Parking
is good. We're developing that now. There's some land across from octagon that we're looking to clear away so people can park. There's some parking in other places, so parking is not a problem. Traffic police will be there in full force. Just obey the traffic rules, listen to them, please. And, you know, we have a culture. I hate to use the word culture because it's not culture. We have a way of doing things where if we come into Kingstown, if we're going to 705, you have to park directly in front of 705.
Yeah.
We're not a big place. A 5-minute walk isn't gonna kill us to get to where we're going. Right. So I'm not telling you our parking is directly in front of the expo. No, it's not that. But a 5-minute walk isn't gonna kill you. But our traffic police are gonna be there. Security is gonna be there. We have over 25 volunteers to be on site to answer any questions. They'll be in their orange vest with the branded vest. So ask any questions. We will try and assist as much as possible.
Beach emphasized that placing the Everything Vincy Expo in a permanent multi-purpose venue is a strategic move to solidify the Expo's role as a platform for local industry, entrepreneurship and cultural promotion. The goal, he said, is not only to celebrate what's uniquely Vincentian, but also to stimulate a longer-term economic activity through regular commercial use. In addition, Beach outlined plans to make the facility economically sustainable beyond the Expo footprint. Once completed, the space will be available for rent to businesses and event organizers.
Yeah, I think it's unique. The 16,000 square foot building is something to see. When you get out there, you'll have an idea of what I'm speaking about. But I'm not sure. I'm not the all-inclusive fet man as I used to be back in the day. But I know a lot of the things take place on the tarmac and so on. I'm not sure how sustainable that is and for how long, especially with the hospital being built and these sort of things. So you have there that can be rented, where the infrastructure is already there, right? So instead of spending how much thousands of dollars on tents, you can spend it by us. But this is going to be run like a business.
Okay.
Solely and wholly like a business. Next year, we plan to put up the bathroom, the kitchen facilities for catering, for churches that want to have their events. Lions Rotary need to have an event. Eventually that building is going to be fully AC'd. It can be partitioned off if you only want a certain amount of space. So it is an event center. The other 4 tents, we will now, Invest SVG will now have the 4 largest tents in St. Vincent de Grenadines, even larger than Nemo's.
Yeah.
Right? So we are there to provide that. We're going to be competitive. We're not here to take away business, but we are here to compete.